Hello. This is my second video. This won't be happening very often. I'm using my cousin's equipment and he's going to be leaving the state for a long time. He let me borrow it. Well, I mean not borrow, but he lets me use it. So what I want to talk about is what season 9 got right and what I personally think it got wrong. Alright, so the premiere. I think the premiere was really good for the most part. It was spoiled for me. Unfortunately, AMC really still needs to work on the leaks. Gregory's death was spoiled for me, but I still really liked it. I liked how the characters acted. They acted very consistent with how they're supposed to be. And one of the things is, I wonder, okay, I'm going to just be honest with you. Ken's death kind of got to me. Like, they introduced a character and then just immediately killed him off, and everyone was upset, even Maggie. And you guys probably know this, but I would always go in video comment sections and just type in R.I.P. Ken, best character The Walking Dead ever had. And it wasn't always entirely a joke, because I really felt like we could have had more with that character. I mean, just, I relate to young, males on The Walking Dead, like characters like Glenn, characters like Carl, characters like, Jimmy from season 2, young characters, male, who, because I relate to that, who just, they're very hopeful, or like, and they try to survive. I just wish sometimes they lasted longer. I don't understand why the show, and the same things happens with Henry. I wanted to like him, but he died in episode 15. So I just wish there was a young male character that we saw grew up over time throughout the apocalypse and, become a tough survivor. And also, I love Maggie. I love Lauren Cohan's portrayal of Maggie. So when she was upset with Ken's death, that got to me. It made me sad, like really sad. Because I haven't felt like that since Glenn died. Like how she cried. Like, Ken is not a character that we can just laugh at when he died, because even Maggie was upset. Like that got to me. Like the fact that Maggie cared about this person so much that she cried. I mean, when was the last time Maggie cried besides Glenn died? I don't think there is one. So I also like Ken's parents, Earl and Tammy Rose Sutton. I like the portrayals, their actors. I'm glad Earl was finally introduced in The Walking Dead. He should have been introduced in season 6, but Scott Gimple never introduced him, which is one of my problems with season 6. I have a big list. It's still one of my favorite seasons, but it did have a big problem, or lots of problems. So all the episodes later, episode 2, episode 3, the whole killing saviors, I really like that storyline. It was Oceanside. I don't know if it was leaked, but I had my ideas. I thought it was either Daryl or Oceanside, or it was one of the saviors trying to start tension with the other groups. I really like that. I did like that. It felt organic. It made sense, and I'm glad that they had the saviors still being a problem for the survivors a year and a half later after All Out War. It really felt realistic, because in the comic they just skipped over any tension between the groups until like issue 160 something, from 127 to 160 something. So that's an improvement. So one thing is, I'm kind of mixed about this between Rick's supposed death. Rick supposedly dying in episode 5 of the season. It kind of works and doesn't work. You have Rick getting stabbed with the rebar, bleeding out, and he should have been dead several times. I don't know how it works in real life, but and then he blew up the dynamite on the bridge, and somehow his cold python washed up in the river. No, I mean, it went in the river, that's fine, but how did it get to the sand and get buried there for a year, and Michonne found it? How did Rick fall in the water? Because I don't think he was that close to where the bridge was blown up at. He was on the. I think Rick was on the stone, right? So how did he fall in the water? That part kind of bugs me. And Rick getting taken away with a helicopter. Like, how did Jadis? No, not Jadis. How did no one hear the helicopter or see it? Maggie, Carol, Michonne, they were all there. Part of me feels like it would have been much more impactful if Rick had died. And please don't comment and be upset that I said maybe it would have been better if Rick died. It's just, it realistically, Rick should have died. And I don't know how I feel about that because it's like a Glenn Dumpster Fake Out 2.0. Those are my only gripes with that moment. The music was great. The dialogue was great. The characters' reactions were great, thinking that Rick was going to die, and they actually did think he died. That was all great, absolutely. So then we get a huge time skip, 6 years, possibly more, like at most 6.5. And Judith is like about 9 years old, and I think the actress for her is really good, really great actually. It's just that from my other video, I don't like her using the Cold Python. I honestly am surprised that thing still works. I mean, it's been 10 years and Rick still uses it. How do they still have ammo for it? That part is a little weird. And I'm also, when Maggie and Daryl were against Rick, I was totally fine with that. Absolutely. I think it made perfect sense. It felt good. These characters are still human. They still have struggles. And they can't let go of things. And I think that's good writing. Absolutely. Because in the comic, Maggie kind of dropped Negan killing Glenn. They kind of dropped that anger she had. They just dropped it. And I think this is much better done. So after Rick's supposed death, with all the new characters like Magna, and I like Magna, I like Yumiko, I love Connie. I even ship her with Daryl but I do not like Kelly. I think Kelly is just unnecessary, as well as Luke. I think he should have died in the Pike scene at the end of the season. They're the two most useless members of Magna's group, and I'm not saying that, like, I'm not saying I hate the characters or the actors. I'm just saying they didn't really do much, and it just felt like they were just standing around doing nothing a lot of the times. So there were other characters. We had the time skip, Michonne acting distant from the communities, and one thing kind of bugs me is that Jed and all of them were still alive, like the mean saviors, and that bugged me because I was thinking, wait a minute, so after he attacked the camp where they were working on the bridge and killed Kathy, who's a member of the Oceanside, I check the wiki constantly, so I know that. Jed somehow survived 6 more years. Like, what? Like, they didn't, after Rick's supposed death, they didn't, take their guns, go to Sanctuary, and try to kill him. I don't know. Like, I feel like that could have been fixed. But I do like they aged up Henry, and I'm glad they aged up Henry because it works absolutely. Carl, I think Chandler Riggs or Carl should have been recasted with a better actor. I'm not saying Chandler is not a good actor. I think he's a good actor, but I just don't think he was taking it seriously, and he wasn't a great actor, in my personal opinion. I think they should have had recasted Carl after the time skip. They kept him alive, obviously, but they should have recasted Carl with a actor who looked a lot like him when he was younger, so that way when we have this new Carl, he looks a little bit different from Chandler, but it's like, well, it's been 6 years. And then they could say, like, well, the actor for this new Carl looked a lot like Chandler when he was younger, so they can say, like, okay, well, this works. That's what they did with Henry. They recasted him with his older brother, and that's an example of recasting in shows and movies that just works because you have people who probably looked like each other when they were younger, so it works. I like what they did with Carol this season. I think it worked really well. I still don't like that they kill off Henry instead of Ezekiel. That's one of my problems with this season. They kind of set it up in season 8. They set up Ezekiel's death throughout the season, and they just don't kill him off. So I'm thinking, okay, well, how are they going to kill him off? So I was a little bit confused on that. They didn't really set up Henry's death. I didn't really see death flags for him. So let's talk about the Pike deaths. So it was the Highwaymen, Ozzy, and Alec. I had to look him up on the wiki, and I think they were a complete mistake. Even though I love season 9, the characters were acting great. and very consistent, and there was good action and a lot of realistic moments. There were some problems, and the Pike deaths was one of them. I definitely think the comics did a better job with the Pike deaths. It really felt like a red wedding situation. Although the show did surprise me on a couple of them, like Enid and Henry, I will admit. And I actually wasn't sure if they were going to kill off Tara, but they actually did. So the show did surprise me on them, but I think it would have been better if there were no Highwaymen, someone from Oceanside, one or two people from Magnus Group, and Tara, possibly Rosita, and then Ezekiel. And I know Rosita being one of them, like the comic, would have been crazy. But I feel like there's not much they can do with Rosita now because she's 4 months pregnant, probably. So I don't really see what much they can do with that character. She can't fight in the Whisper War, so I don't know. I feel like that could have worked. I don't know. It's and also another person that died was DJ, who was a savior. He actually was a kind of a fan favorite, actually, for the people on the wiki, and a lot of people didn't really know him, as well as Frankie, who was one of Negan's ex-wives, and I don't really blame them, honestly, because I didn't even recognize Frankie in episode 14 of this season when she was living in Alexandria and she had an adopted daughter named Alice. I did not even recognize her. I had to check on the wiki. People told me, and I think they should have shown her more. I think Frankie being one of the people to die, I think that's fine, but they should have introduced her more, given her more time. I think they did a great job with Tammy Rose Sutton, Tammy's character. I think it did a really great job. The actress really played that role really well, and Alana Masterson as Tara, I think she has done a good job with that character. She wasn't one of my favorites. I liked Tara in season 4, season 5, then season 6 and 7 and 8. She got really boring. I honestly just wanted her to go. And then season 9, like all the other characters, she was getting better. And then they killed her off, and I was perfectly fine with that. And then they also killed off Henry, which, like I said, I don't really like it because, once again, like, who do we root for? First off, who gets the rest of Carl's story? Because there's still some story they got to give to Henry. There was still some story they could have done. And I feel like it would have been better if Henry saw the consequences of his actions. Imagine his adopted father dying because of his actions to save this girl, Lydia. But they didn't do that, and I feel like they should have. I feel like Henry could have been a cool character for multiple seasons. Like, just change that character. Enough with the stick. You know, he's got the stick. I would say drop the stick and change his character a little bit. Still make him young and, like, sweet. Or, like, you know, a young, nice guy. But change him up a little bit. Make him more serious and understanding. Like, hey, there are consequences for things. And this is a dangerous world. Like, have that character grow and develop over multiple seasons. They could have done that, but they didn't. And I feel like they should have. The finale was a little bit boring. I was kind of expecting more. I did love the snow, absolutely. But I still think that they could have added some more, like the kingdom was fighting over food, or people falling through ice, or a bunch of wolves attacking them on their way to the hilltop. I think all of this could have been used to help make the finale much more interesting, and they didn't do that, which I feel like they should have done something to spice it up. As far as Negan, I don't understand why he came back. Like, that whole thing, like, I admit, him coming back, I was surprised on that, because I thought, well, Negan's been in the jail cell for almost 8 years, so they're not going to have that scene from the comic where he comes back, but they did, and I was surprised with that. And I do like what they're doing with his redemption, but I think they need to do more. They absolutely need to do more with Negan's redemption in season 10, because while a few people may have forgiven him for killing Glenn, I haven't forgiven him. There's just, Glenn was the heart of the show, and millions of viewers left after he died. So I feel like Negan has to do something big still to get redemption. So as far as other episodes this season, I liked episode 14 where Michonne had to kill those kids in order to protect Judith. I really like that. That's such a dark thing, like situation you don't want to be in. But one problem I had was one problem I had with it was, why did Michonne and Daryl go by themselves? Where was Scott, Gabriel, Rosita, Eugene, Aaron, um, all these other parents? Like, why didn't they take guns and go with them to look for their kids? I feel like that's a little bit inconsistent. I feel like they should have had that. It didn't make sense. And I get it. Michonne and Daryl had to be the ones to get the X scars, but I still think that they could have had some more people get the X scars or something. They could have worked on it around that scene. Yeah, I feel like they could have done more with that. So as far as the other character, as far as Alpha and Beta, I really liked Alpha. I think she is creepy, and she's supposed to be. I do think that the actress portraying her, Samantha Morton, I'm pretty sure that's her. She is just a little chubby. I feel like they could have. Was there no way to ask her to get skinnier for this role? Because it just bothers me that she's a big woman and she should be skinny realistically, like Alpha in the comic, but she's not. It just kind of bugs me because the Whispers, pretty much all of them should be skinny except for Beta, I guess. But in Beta, I think he is really cool. Ryan Hurst is intimidating. He's a lot like Thanos. Great casting. He even looks taller than 6'4", I think. So I think he is really good as Beta. My only problem with it is him and Daryl fought, and I wish the Daryl and Beta fight scene could have been a little better. I think it was really good, but I think it could have been great. I think that they should have had Beta really hurt Daryl more, like not chop off his finger or hand or something, but like give Daryl a black eye. I feel like you could have done at least that, because next episode Daryl's perfectly fine. So that just bugs me a little. I think the fair was really good, absolutely. And other characters like Jerry, Diane, and what other characters we have from the Hilltop. I'm not sure which characters are, like Enid and Sadiq and the whole love quadrangle. I think that those were pretty good, but I think that, like I said, Rosita should have died in episode 15, so that would have broken the love quadrangle. And I do like Dog. Dog is a new addition to the season. He's Daryl's dog, and I definitely like Dog. I hope he sticks around for a good long while. It's crazy. You have people caring more about the dog than a lot of these other characters, but in a way I can't really blame them. I mean, people have compassion towards animals, and it's not the same as survivors or characters in story who are just completely useless. So yeah. So Daryl, I think they did a real good job with Daryl this season. He's very conflicted. He's not 100% nice, but he's not 100% evil. I mean, Daryl was never 100% evil, but like season 7 and season 8, Daryl was just not a good character. Daryl was a terrible character in season 7 and 8. Pretty much everyone complained about him. And some people say it was a Daryl hate train, but I completely disagree. I think the writing for him was just terrible in season 7 and season 8, and he's really good now. I hope they continue him. I wasn't, as much as I like Daryl, yeah, I mean, Rick and Glenn, I think they were better characters, but what can you do? You know, they're dead, and you know, Daryl's the one who's going to stick around, Norman Reedus. So yeah, and I said Rick's dead because I honestly don't know if he's still alive currently in the timeline, because it's been 6.5 years since he disappeared. So I'm thinking maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe Rick will die at the end of the third movie. Maybe they don't even dare to do a third movie. So I don't know. Oh, and the death of Paul Monroe. People call him Jesus, but I just call him Paul. No, it's Paul Rovia. Sorry, it's Paul Monroe in the comics. I heard the actor wanted to leave, and I feel like I feel bad because he worked as Paul, like visually. I mean, okay, maybe not visually. He should have been a little taller, like the actor. But I think he was doing pretty good with that character in season 9. He felt like Paul. But in season 6, he wasn't that big. Season 7 and season 8, they completely sidelined him from Morgan. And after season 8, he was pretty much done with the show. He's like, I wanted more time like my comic book character, and you guys never given me. So I partially blame Scott Gimple for that. I think Scott Gimple should have done a way better job with season 7 and season 8, and he didn't, and that resulted in problems for season 9, like Rick wanting to leave, like no Carl, and other issues like Paul leaving. I think his death worked well, although I think that, I don't know, maybe it could have been Beta. That would have been cool, but I'm okay with how they did it, absolutely. As far as other characters like Aaron, I really like Aaron this season. Season 8, he was completely sidelined. They completely forgot about him for a lot. He barely did anything in season 8. I think they did a great job with Aaron. Ross, I forgot his last name, but I think they did a real good job with Aaron. He looks like Comic Rick, but he fights like Paul Monroe. He's got skills, so I think Aaron is going to be a much better character in season 10. And I also, RJ is another reason why I like the show, season 9, because with Carl dead, Rick doesn't actually have, Judith is not actually Rick's daughter, so Rick actually doesn't have a blood child left. He doesn't have a relative left. He doesn't have anything to pass down to genetically. And you have RJ, who is the son of Rick and Michonne. And I'm very glad the show did this, because the show needs as many kids as possible, because the adults are eventually going to leave. Daryl and Carol will stick around to season 12 because Norman Reedus and Melissa McBride signed contracts for season 12. But you have Michonne leaving in season 10. Maggie may be coming back. We hardly have any characters left, honestly. So I feel like you need some of these kids of some of these other characters, to continue the franchise. If The Walking Dead really wants to go on for another 10 years, they absolutely need characters like Judith and RJ to stick around and stay alive, because they're the future. Some people will watch, just for Judith, because even though she's not Rick's actual daughter, she still has been around since season 3, and they want to see her survive. So absolutely. So as far as where do I rank this season, I definitely think it's better than season 7 and season 8. I think that it's this is tough. It's one of the best seasons in years, so it's better than season 7, season 8. As far as, would I say it's better than season 4? That's tough. I would say it's about the same. But then again, season 4, 5, and 6 are tied as far as that. Season 2, I think it's better than season 2. Some people think it's the best season, and that's fine. That's your opinion, and I respect that. But with so many loved characters just gone in the show in season 9, and like a lot of characters are gone, leaving, and there are some problems with season 9 and a few issues with like plot holes and realism. Just a couple. I definitely think that season 9 is great. I think it's great. I would give it maybe like an 8.5 out of 10. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest season ever, but to be fair, it's better than season 7 and season 8, and I think it's better than season 2. As far as season 3, I don't know. I think it's as good as season 4. As far as season 5 and 6, I feel like maybe those were the best seasons, maybe. But other than that, season 9 was great. I mean, the Fair, the Whispers, the Border, they did all that. Even though I had, a few problems here and there with some of the deaths they had. And that's mostly where I have issues with the show. Just mostly the deaths. I think that this season did a really good job and is bringing a lot of fans back. Even my brother, after season 8, he wanted to quit. He wanted to stop watching The Walking Dead entirely. He was just sick of it. Like, it made no sense. It was problems everywhere. But season 9, I showed him season 9, and honestly, he came back and watching it, and he's almost fully done with season 9. So yeah, I think that season 9 was really, really good. Could they have done better, in my personal opinion? Yeah. But they were in a tough situation. Andrew Lincoln wanted to leave. Lauren Cohan, Maggie, wanted to leave as well because they weren't paying her enough, or she wanted too much. Whichever one, I'm not sure. But you had a lot of things coming together this season. What they were fighting for, the Fair, and seeing kids like Judith and Gracie grow up after a huge time skip and being these characters that I actually root for, that I actually want to see survive for the long, long haul. I honestly am glad that finally, after all these years, certain things are coming together, like, you know, Judith becoming a real character instead of just a baby or a plot device. So I am really glad that this season has turned around, and we've got snow. I mean, we never got snow in the previous seasons. They mentioned it, but we never got it. And season 6 definitely should have had some snow, but they never did it. I don't know why. It would have been amazing in No Way Out, but they didn't do it. I guess better late than never. So I would say that this season didn't really end off strong, but season 7, I think season 7's cliffhanger, season 6 and season 7's cliffhanger and ending, I think were worse than season 9's. Honestly, maybe even season 8's. As much as I didn't really like the ending for season 9, I know a lot of people wanted Rick on the radio, but honestly, I'm pretty okay with it. The ending, even though sometimes I'm a little harsh on, am I criticizing The Walking Dead? But sometimes I'm also defending it when it does certain things. It's adapting the comics. Some people wanted it to be Rick or Maggie, but they chose the voice at the end to, I think it's Stephanie. They heavily confirmed it. They said read the comic, so it's got to be Stephanie. There's no other person it can be, because she was the radio voice was Stephanie in the comics. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on this. And please let me know yours down below in the comments. Well, thank you. Bye.